welcome to episode 140 of BigRedBarel Geek Speak, a place for all your nerdy needs on BigRedBarel.com. My name is Alex, I'm a self-appointed baroness of butts. I'm also the host for this episode. And joining me, as always, is jauntily jubilant juggernaut of joy!
Hello! Someone turn the sun off, please. Make it go away. I've had enough now.
Can we just turn it off in your corner and keep it in my corner?
Sure,
okay?
like have little sort of isolated zones for people.
Yeah.
So like normal people like me who can't stand this nonsense can have their nice little cool corners, and then you mentalists can have all the sun.
Man, you would never survive a day in Cyprus. This is cold weather in Cyprus.
Yeah, no, I would not. You know, I was born by the coast in Torquay. I like the cold, windy kind of, sea atmosphere. That's what I like. No sun. Sun, go away.
You're like a weird seagull.
Yeah, sure.
Joe the Seagull. Excellent.
Maybe that should be your Overwatch name. Oh, wait. Anyway.
Yeah, no.
And you've already been hearing the dulcet tones of Dangerously Darling Diarmuid.
Hello there.
Yeah.
Hello there.
It's me, Diarmuid.
It's me, Diarmuid. Are you also Team Heat?
I am Team Sun Go Away also, unfortunately.
Damn it.
I prefer to be too cold and too hot.
Yeah, same.
I'm surrounded! Ah!
It's so much easier when you're too cold, though. You just put a jumper on or get the duvet or something. But when you're too hot, you can't. There's only so many clothes you can take off.
Yeah, and then they kick you out of the local park. It's like, come on.
Yeah, there's certain behaviour that's sort of not really kind of welcomed in supermarkets. Like climbing into their freezers is kind of the sort of thing that's going to get you kicked out, unfortunately.
Aw, come on, Di. Remember when we went to play ball and it was nice?
And we had to take a break every 5 minutes because we were sweating so profusely. Yeah, I remember that.
Oh, it is gross, isn't it? You just feel gross, like, when you're so hot all the time. Just, ugh. But yeah.
See, the way I feel it, I'm sweating out all my fat, so I feel skinnier. So I have my own weird twisted logic down there.
I think I need about 4 or 5 summers in a row, but yeah, that could work maybe.
But it doesn't. It's just water. It doesn't work.
Oh, don't break my illusions.
We've been lied to. Yeah.
Let's go into Time Waster of the Week. Now, guys, heads up, really. We haven't talking about Overwatch for a while now, so there's going to be a lot of Overwatch in this episode.
Yeah, prepare yourselves.
Yeah, prepare yourself. We're going to start with the Time Waster of the Week, though. That is courtesy of Di.
Yes. I'm kind of a fan of video game documentaries where they happen.
Me too. They're so good.
They are. I love NoClip. Like, have you seen their recent Bethesda one as well?
Yes.
Very good stuff.
Really good.
And every so often, the bigger sites get to do those kind of deep dives into certain things as well. And Gamespot have released or have begun releasing a series of videos on the Overwatch League and its inception. And I've watched pretty much all of the ones that they've released so far. I think there's like 1 or 2 episodes left. It's called Building Overwatch League, and it kind of goes from, well, basically the inception of the league, how they decided to go about it, how the teams came together, and then each video kind of covers a particular aspect of the league. So the very first one is just why competitive gaming matters to everyone and why they decided to go into the league in the first place. They also cover how they're trying to make it a more mainstream esport. And then they talk about how the teams kind of came about and how the fact that a lot of the team owners are actually kind of either celebrities or people who already own sporting franchises in America. And each video is about maybe 15-20 minutes long, and they just go in depth and have interviews with people like Jeff Kaplan, Nate, I can't remember his surname. He's like
the commissioner.
He's the commissioner of the of the league, and they go in and they interview the teams as well. So Mickey, Bishu, they're all interviewed, and they talk about what it's like being a player in the league.
Is the love of my life also interviewed?
I haven't seen him yet. I haven't seen DJ Hong yet.
They probably, it sounds bad, but they probably did lean towards English speakers.
Yes, they did. Because even the Korean players that they interviewed were English, like they could speak English. So, I suppose it's probably just whoever the PR for the various teams decided to put up in front of them, But they just had a few players anyway. It wasn't kind of in-depth or anything. It was just about what it's like or where they started and all that kind of stuff. And as you can imagine, for a lot of the players, it was kind of their parents had no idea what this thing was. They were just like, you want to go into this? Fair enough. You have to work at it and all that kind of stuff. And then they also go into kind of behind the scenes. There's a very, very good video. I can't remember which exact. I think it's the building the league for mainstream, that video. It goes into the behind the scenes in terms of it interviews the guy that runs the feed. So he's the guy that decides which video, like when you're watching the game, which one cuts to this player, which one kind of does an overview or the map, or it kind of, it's how he decides what to show and how the way they describe it.
There's just one guy who does that?
Well, there's obviously like multiple guys running the various running the various videos to make sure that they're capturing correctly. But then there's one guy who kind of decides, okay, now we're going to cut to this camera and then this camera and this, and they, like, as a team, they kind of work together. But there's one guy who actually kind of says, okay, now this one, and so on. And the way he describes it, he talks about telling stories within the game. So, like, there might be games where he'll focus on one particular player because, for instance, that player might have been someone who's been traded from that team and are now playing that team again. Like he's been traded to another team and now they're playing each other. So that might be interesting. But then during the game, he might see another story developing and he might change his mind and kind of start focusing on other things. And it's really interesting the way they do it because they do the exact same thing in, like, real life sports. They do the same thing during matches where they might focus on one or two key players. And it's just really interesting how they decide that and they try and work on it. And because it's an esport as well, he also describes how you kind of need to, as well as the the analysts who have to explain different terms to the audience and things like that, you also have to show them the right stuff as well. So you have to kind of tell the story of the game in a way that everyone can understand, and they describe how they do that, and it's just a really interesting video, that one in particular. But all
it
of
sounds
them,
fascinating.
It's really fun. Like, if you give them a watch,
hard job.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a complex game to begin with, and then I mean, when you see like little shots, when they show you shots of the behind the scenes sort of bunker, it is really impressive. Yeah,
one of the things is the guy in question, I think, has worked on sports before. Like, so he has plenty of experience doing this. But he says that, like, this is actually a dream come true because it's a video game. He basically gets any shot he wants. So, like, he's talked about the technology that Blizzard have developed for him and his team, where he can, if something happens and they weren't watching it at the time, obviously instant replay isn't a new thing in any kind of sport, but the fact that you can stop time, go around it, see different perspectives all at one time, and kind of choose whatever camera you want because it's a virtual camera. Like, the way he goes into detail on that I found that really interesting.
Yeah.
It's well worth a watch if you want to give it a go.
It sounds brilliant. I'm with you, Di. I love video game documentaries, like behind the scenes stuff. I mean, in my job, when I get to do like dev diary type stuff, when we're interviewing the devs and talking about the creation of the game, I find that the most interesting thing to do. And as the same, I love watching that kind of stuff as well. It's just absolutely fascinating to kind of see the creative process. Like, there was a brilliant one that they did for The Last of Us called Grounded.
Agreed. I see that.
That was just a fantastic documentary. Like, just to really go into the thought process of the guys that work at Naughty Dog and kind of fully understand why they made certain choices they did in the game. And it's just fascinating. So yeah, this sounds like another good one. I shall have to definitely watch it.
For instance, in that one, they don't just go into the overall, this is the game, like the story, kind of very high level. They go right down into like the teams who do the art, the teams who do the sound, how they created the clicker noises. That's the kind of level that they're going down to in this Overwatch documentary as well. They kind of
brilliant.
They go down to the people who are on the stage, who are kind of, analyzing the game, and the shoutcasters, they interview them about how they're trying to develop stories with the people who are showing what's on screen, things like that. And how they have to try and explain stats to new kind of fans and all that. in a way that doesn't piss off the old fans either, that who kind of want to just kind of get on with it and see the game. You know what I mean? So it's the balance that they're talking about, and yeah, it's really interesting. It's well worth watching.
Cool. I shall add it to my list.
And yeah, let's also agree that I think Blizzard are doing absolutely a cracking job with
Oh my god,
Overwatch
yeah,
League.
it's so good.
It's unbelievably good, and I know it's good because even when Overwatch frustrates me to no end, when I put my controller away and I think to myself, I'm never going back to this game because it's just so infuriating. I watch an Overwatch League match, and that feeling of wanting to play that game, it just comes back. I mean, if there's one thing, watching them, and obviously I know we're never going to play at their level and their games are entirely superior to what I'll ever experience in Overwatch, just because, you know, they're a proper team. They do scrims, they work together, all that kind of stuff. But it's just the feeling of the game and showing the game in its best angle and showing why it could be so unbelievably good that you just have to drop everything and go and try it for yourself, even if in the back of your head there's a voice going, well, you're not going to get the same experience. You still do it. So yes, and you know, like we've all been watching and following it, and we've been spending, you know, parties and birthdays going to watch it.
Yeah.
So it's clearly doing the right job, and it's clearly like everyone that has been working there just nailed it, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I fully agree. It's, for me, I think Overwatch League has been like a real success, and it can stand alongside like other regular sports. Like the way I kind of look at it was like, obviously playing Overwatch a lot. It's kind of like people that are watching the World Cup right now, and they'll go and have a kickabout themselves at the weekend. You know, it's that kind of parallel really, is that, you know, Overwatch League is the absolute pinnacle of the sport. It's fun to watch. It's exciting to watch. You support your team. Spitfire forever, woo! And and then you can play yourself. And you know what? I mean, yeah, Overwatch has had its ups and downs. It's having a good up at the moment, but it's still a cracking game, and it's fun to watch as much as it is to play.
Yeah, I mean, Blizzard have managed to tap into that feeling that you're talking about. Same thing happened during the Olympics. Like, you have just people diving into different sports purely because they've seen them on TV. And obviously Blizzard have managed to, like, one of the things they talked about is trying to make it as mainstream as possible, and I think they've managed to do that. Now they need to maybe work on maybe getting it even wider in terms of putting it on TV, because I'm sure there are going to be you know, not just Twitch. I'm sure there are going to be places that want to show that kind of stuff, especially if they keep the quality of the programming that they've done. So like, as the leagues go on, it's going to get more and more competitive as well. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Me too.
I mean, it's really a shame, and it's nothing against Twitch, but it's really a shame that it's not actually on TV or on proper channels, because the amount of work they put into building that stage and building the arena and how fantastic it looks, it really should be seen by more people, because there's been a lot of effort and love and thought put into it, and it just needs to be seen more.
Do you think this comes down to kind of an actually sort of a bit of a how things are changing in terms to how people watch TV? Because, I mean, I'm talking from a completely selfish personal perspective here, but I don't actually have TV, like normal TV. I don't have it at all. I have like Now TV and, you know, like Amazon Prime and Netflix and stuff. But when it comes to actual terrestrial TV, I do not have it. Like, I don't even have a cable, an aerial connected to my TV. So for me, if they moved away from Twitch, it would be bad. Like, if they just went to a standard terrestrial broadcast, I wouldn't be able to watch it anymore.
Oh, no,
and
agreed,
I'm wondering, like, if maybe, is this a sign of, obviously this is very specific to the Overwatch League, but just noticing more and more now that the way people consume their TV is changing. And I guess things like this, like sports broadcast on services like Twitch rather than terrestrial TV, are kind of maybe leading the charge a little bit. But so who knows where we'll be in 10 years time. We could all be watching through intravenous injection into our brains. We just don't know. I hope not. That sounds horrible, but you know.
Pretty much the same thing, actually, here. The only reason we have TV is because I live with a sports person, and sports come to the TV.
Yeah, see, Overwatch is the only sport in our house.
Yeah. And, I mean, I honestly think, you know, this is nothing new, this is not a new discussion, but having the subscription services in Netflix and Amazon Prime and Twitch and YouTube, it just gives you freedom to choose. You're not relying on the program on the TV. You're not beholden to their schedule. You choose when and what you watch.
Yes.
And essentially, yeah, that's what people are going to always choose ahead of a normal TV. But I think at this point, at least, and like you said, it might all change in 10 years, mainstream media is mostly on TV, and they need to acknowledge the existence of esports. And they have been a little bit. They have been some esports on TV.
It's getting there, yeah.
But just very, very slowly.
Yeah.
And they just need to acknowledge it a little bit more, and then, you know... I mean, honestly, I honestly think mainstream media needs it more than Overwatch League because they are going away.
Yeah.
And, you know, esports are not.
That's true. It's going to be interesting. I would be amazed if the BBC or, you know, other channels like that are not going to Blizzard and whoever and trying to get them. Because, as you say, it is a case of they need this kind of stuff more than Blizzard does. Because Blizzard is making lots of money from this.
Yeah, I think Blizzard is okay for monies, yeah.
Yeah, they're fine. They're doing just fine. Don't you worry about them. Okay, let's get into the news. And the first news is sponsored by Bleezy.
Oh, Bleezy.
I'm actually quite happy for him. I'm quite happy for him.
Yeah, I am too, even though I don't care about this at all, obviously. But I'm happy for Bleezy because he'll love this.
Okay, so if none of you have figured it out yet, or if maybe some of you have, because you know Bleezy and you know he bleeds green and Halo, the Halo TV series is going to be on Showtime in 2019.
Nice.
It's in the works. From the director Rupert Wyatt and creator Kyle Killen, and something with Steven Spielberg. I'm not entirely sure how he's involved.
I think it's his production company.
That's his production outfit that he's had since the beginning. You know, that's basically when you see Amblin come up before a film, it's Steven Spielberg either producing or directing it. So
so there you go. I mean, you know, the news on that is thin. They just announced they're actually doing it.
The talent involved is good though. I mean, Rupert Wyatt's a hell of a director, so
yeah, I thought you might appreciate the Rise of the Planet of the Apes director being there.
Yeah.
And he's gonna direct a bunch of episodes, and I think it's gonna be a 10-hour long series.
Cool.
So sounds good. Look, I have such a limited knowledge of Halo, mostly because every time Bleezy starts talking about it, in my head I go blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Mostly to annoy him, not because I'm trying to be mean, because it's funny.
No, I mean, I tried with Halo. I tried to play it, and I just couldn't get into it. I think it's just, you know, it's not for me. But there are a lot of people that really love Halo, and that's great. And Bleezy is one of them. And if this TV series actually gets more people into Halo, then that's cool. You know, that's awesome.
I've played almost all of the games, and I've also read some of the books. So of all of us, I think I know the most. And even I don't know what this TV series is actually going to go with.
Yeah, that was I was gonna about, because I remember I think we were chatting about it yesterday, but the Master Chief isn't likely to be the main protagonist because he doesn't actually speak, so that would be a bit weird.
Master Chief works in a video game kind of sense, in terms of like he works as a video game character. He won't work as a TV character that you kind of hang your entire narrative around. It just doesn't work. Like you can't really focus on a guy who talks in a kind of a monotone voice and wears his helmet all the time. You know, you can't. I'd
like to introduce you to a little film called Dread.
Well, okay, look, you know how much I love Dread as well.
I know you do. I'm being facetious.
Exactly. But like that is also Karl Urban can basically do whatever the hell he wants. He's awesome. And that's an excellent film. Go watch it. Anyway,
absolutely, yeah.
In terms of this film, though, I think they're going to need to kind of create something slightly separate, but with strong ties in. I mean, I'm actually a fan of the series in terms of the story, at least. I think that the lore that they've created is actually quite good. The only problem being that the games have been pretty bad more recently. But in terms of the game, the lore that they have, I actually think it's a decent lore. So if the series can kind of tap into that, give audiences a kind of a way in, then, as you say, it could help the games as well, because people will try and find out more. They'll go after the other media, the comics, the books, the series. There's like cartoon series, like anime stuff out as well. It's quite a wide audience in terms of, or quite a wide media presence in terms of the game. It's not just the games. Like, they've already created a kind of a made-for-TV movie on Halo as well. So there's kind of, there's plenty of media out there already. I'm excited for this. I want to see what they do. As you say, the talent involved is quite high. I'm still a bit butthurt over the fact that Neil Blomkamp didn't get to make his Halo film, because that, I think, could have been incredible. But you never know, he might be involved in this at some stage.
Yeah, who knows? He might do a couple of episodes. It could happen.
That'd be fun.
Okay, moving on to the next news. Now, we've all been really wondering what happened to Amy Hennig since she left. Or, not actually, we didn't know that she left EA, but we were wondering what happened since the Ragtag.
We had assumed.
Yes, we had assumed she left because Ragtag is no more, or actually, it is there, but it's just not the same game, and why would she be attached to it? And finally, we kind of got a little glimpse into that. So apparently she left way back when in January, just very quietly, and she's established her... I keep losing my voice. This is not funny. I'm sorry. And she established her small independent studio, which says about 6 to 8 people. And apparently she's going to do a bunch of VR stuff, which is...
fascinating. Yeah, I mean... The thing with Amy Hennig is she knows how to tell a story. So if she manages to kind of harness what you can do with VR and start telling really interesting stories, I'm fully on board. And to be honest, like when she joined EA, I felt uncomfortable with it from the off, like from a personal perspective. I just thought it was a bad fit for her. I just thought, this is not... Like, it didn't seem right to me. So while it's been quite a sort of horrid way for it to happen, I'm kind of glad that she's not with them now and she's doing her own thing again.
Agreed.
Like, she's too strong a creative mind to be shackled to a company like EA.
Agreed.
Really.
And as you say, she is a storyteller as well. The fact that she's, like, the very first thing she mentions in terms of what game she's going to make is VR is incredibly exciting, because VR at the moment, even the best games in VR are not story experiences. Most of them are not. So, like, one of the killer apps in VR is probably Super Hot. No story really in that to speak of. But the games that have tried to do story have actually been incredibly immersive. So you've games like Moss, you've games like...
Moss looks lovely.
And it's really, really good as well. You've games like Robinson the Journey. They try and tell... In those cases, they're kind of shorter stories. But like, if she can kind of crack that nut, it'll be incredible. Because, as I say, story experiences in VR are few and far between. And I'm really excited. As soon as she mentioned VR, my ears just kind of perked up, going, "Okay."
It's like your spidey senses started tingling. You were like, "What?"
I was doing my Leo DiCaprio impression, going, "Now you have my attention."
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? I actually agree. Sorry to go back slightly on the point with you, but I agree with you, Joe. I always felt like EA just never got Amy Hennig, honestly, because to me she's sort of in the same ballparks as Kojima, for example. Like, she is the powerhouse. She's strong enough in herself that everything else needs to work around her. Now, I don't usually say that because obviously creating a video game is a big creative process with lots of people working around it.
Absolutely.
But because in a sense she's got such a strong vision and such a strong position and very specific ideas, it's almost, I think, more productive and more interesting for, like, just to support her and to support her work. And in this case, I actually think having a small studio that she completely designed to work with her vision rather than her just coming to EA. Like, we all, I think, read that Jason Schreier interview where she came into the studio that has not been doing what she's been doing at Naughty Dog. They haven't really managed to find their flow. They've struggled for a while, but they just couldn't get along because they worked in completely different ways, right? And so that's partly the reason why, that's not the only reason, but it certainly was a contributing factor to why Ragtag never appeared, because that is just not the atmosphere that she needed to work to create the games that she creates. And now that she has that, I'm actually really looking forward to this, because I think knowing how she works and how she does stuff, she can find the appropriate people that will support and complement her and make those games great. And if it's something, either short indie style games or VR storytelling games, like, I'm completely on board. I just want to see more of her work.
Absolutely.
There you go. That's the news about Amy Hennig. Now we're coming back to Overwatch.
We're swinging all the way back round.
Yes, and boy, lots happened since the
Oh
last
my
book.
god. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna start with the obvious and the most exciting thing, because they've announced the new hero recently, and you, Joe, played it on PTR, so I'll let you take it away.
So, yes, I don't know what Blizzard are smoking, but I want some. So Overwatch, they've introduced a new hero. He's live on the PTR right now. It's basically, everyone was kind of rumoured that it was going to be Hammond, and there was talk about what's he going to be. Is he going to be another monkey like Winston, or an ape, or a chimp, or something? Is he going to be a human character? Who knows? And Hammond is a hamster. And I swear, when he appeared, I just couldn't believe it. I just thought it was the best thing I'd ever seen. So yes, the new character is Hammond, but he's actually called Wrecking Ball in the game, and this is because he basically rolls around in a giant mech that transforms from, in the Phantom Menace, those droidica things.
Yeah.
Right, that kind of roll in and
yes.
pop the out and then shoot. That's essentially what it is, but obviously better.
Yeah, I can't believe you brought up Phantom Menace into this
I know,
conversation.
I feel a bit grim, but it's a good comparison for the droid. So the mech is called Wrecking Ball, and the one of the best things about it is that Hammond himself doesn't speak. He's a hamster, he doesn't speak English, he's hyper intelligent and a little bit crazy, but he doesn't speak. So when you say hello to another player, for example, you hear little Hammond go beep, 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 and then the mech translates for him, and it will go, hello. And it sounds like Ed 209 from RoboCop. So it's just the most wonderful thing. This character is insane. It's the most ludicrous and brilliant thing that I think they've ever done. The abilities he has, so when he's in sort of the walking droid form, he has twin guns, kind of like Diva. I don't think he's as powerful as Diva. He doesn't kick out a ton of damage, but to be honest, that's kind of not what he's for. He's more about disruption, it seems. So when you're in ball form, because you can switch between sort of walking droid and ball form, he has a grapple hook, and you can use this grapple hook to basically hook onto the environment of the map and swing yourself around. And when you reach a high enough velocity, you can slam a pile driver into the ground and basically just cause carnage. So essentially, when you're hot out of the spawn, you go screaming along in your ball, you stick your grapple hook onto something. I'm picturing Li Jiang Tower in my head right now. You stick your grapple hook onto one of the bridges, you swing over, slam into the ground, the enemies all go, oh my god, and get knocked back, and you just cause absolute chaos. He has adaptive shields, so they increase, when you pop the shield, it's an ability, it increases depending on how many enemies are around you. So, excuse me, I'm losing my voice now.
Sorry, I infected you.
So you can kind of see that they've designed this character to be a very disruptive, flanking dive tank. Okay, so he's designed to kind of get in there, mix up the crowd, so that then your DPS can pick off, the squishies and stuff. But he's so much fun. He's really quite hard to get to grips with because he's got some very fiddly controls. I've remapped him quite a bit, so now it kind of is a little bit easier.
What's his ultimate?
His ultimate is a minefield. So you pop your ultimate and he chucks out a bunch of mines. All around him. They take a few seconds to activate, but essentially anyone in them is just going to get wrecked. I destroyed a Reaper with them and it was incredibly satisfying. He's just a wonderful, disruptive pain in the arse of a character. And that's how I like to play a tank. See, he's kind of, for me, he's definitely going to be like an off tank. You would never run him as a main tank. That's crazy. You need someone like a Reinhardt to soak up the damage. But he is going to fill kind of like that Diva role, or perhaps the Winston role, in that he's going to dive in, flank into the enemy team, mix them up a bit, then get out and kind of come back to his team. And it's so mental. It's a hamster in a ball. This is why I love Overwatch, when they do stuff like this, when they just freshen it up with a character like this that's just completely bonkers. So much fun to play, and you can see that people are going to have a lot of fun figuring out ways to use him on maps. I've seen clips where on Anubis, Temple of Anubis first point, people have basically swung him all the way around to flank all the way around the back of the point with almost no effort, and you just think, oh my god, if he can do that, that's just going to be crazy. Like, it's just going to mix up all the standard defensive points that people have kind of come to use sort of since Overwatch started. So I'm really, really excited about him getting into the live game. I'm pretty sure he's going to get a little bit of a nerf here and there because
they tend to do that.
Like,
anyway.
The shield is probably a bit much. At the moment, you get 100 shield. When you pop your adaptive shields, you get 100 for every enemy that's around you.
Oof.
And that's crazy. Like, if you have the entire enemy team around you, you've basically put yourself up to 1200 because he has 600 HP and shield to begin with.
Oh, that's insane.
I just love how Blizzard designs their heroes, because
I know.
this is one of those cases that was very similar to Orisa and Doomfist.
Yeah.
So Orisa comes out, big shield, ability to kind of stand her ground, very static. Then they bring Doomfist, and it's like, you have shield, who cares?
Yeah.
Then they bring out Brigitte, who plays as a kind of...
I kill all the dive.
Yeah.
Hang on, here's the dive tank.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like they keep kind of bringing out heroes that, like, you know, come up against the last one and kind of, you know, it's just... I love the way they design it. They kind of keep... and they don't just make... They could very easily resort to making kind of cookie cutter heroes that kind of do mostly the same kind of stuff, but it's basically a completely new skin for what you need to do. They don't do that. Like, they really do try and adapt heroes quite a bit and make something completely new for the game. And it
absolutely,
this is probably the best metaphor. They really do throw a wrecking ball into the meta and try and change it up. Like, Brigitte has completely changed the meta. I think Hammond is also going to do that in different ways. Like, it's now dive is, like, with him, dive is back or something similar.
Yeah.
And it depends on how, as you say, whether he's nerfed or not, how effective that's going to be. But, like, I love how they divert away from dive, go to death ball, then go back to dive, and it's like
death ball.
everyone's just like, I don't know what's going on here, but it's
crazy. And to be honest, this is one of the big reasons why I love Overwatch and why I continue to play it 2 years later. It's because, I mean, I cannot imagine any other shooter out there putting a character like this in the game. It's completely mental. But Overwatch can do this, and they have such a wonderful roster of completely unique characters. And that's why it's such a good game. I mean, obviously, yes, it's incredibly mechanically brilliant because this is Blizzard, right? It's absolutely pristine. The quality of animation, the quality of the mechanics, the quality of everything in the game is absolutely top notch. But then they'll do stuff like this, which just pushes it even further. And you just think, they're nuts, but I love it.
Very true.
So yeah, he's great. I mean, I it's going to be really interesting to see when he goes live and when people actually start using him in comps, because at the moment you're just kind of messing around with him, really. But I can see, obviously he's going to have some pretty big counters. Like Sombra wrecks him entirely. Like, a Sombra makes him almost useless because if she hacks him, he can't do anything. He can barely move. So he's done. So if people are worried about him being OP, just chuck a Sombra in and you'll be fine. But yeah, he's cool and he's super cute, and I mean, it's a hamster. You can't go wrong, really.
I mean, we had a lot of discussions about this in our WhatsApp group and stuff like that, and I don't really want to iterate all the points that we've made because, you know, we've been going around in circles for quite some time. But one thing I do want to say that while, you know, Hammond is crazy and Rick and Ball, or however you want to refer to him, and it is a really fun character in my opinion, you know, that came just out of the blue. I do pray to God that the next character that they release is actually going to be a main tank. Because so far, it just feels like all their off-tanks are just so much more fun to play than the main tanks, so no one ever plays the main tanks, and you really need that in the comp. You do actually need someone
fully agree.
to be on the front line and push it, and Hammond is just not going to do that. So if you have someone like Hammond and D.Va playing together, you're pretty much doomed.
It's not going to work. You need a Rhino or an Orisa. I mean, to be honest, personally, I love playing Orisa. She's my go-to for a tank. Like, if I'm in a comp and we're covered for heals, I'll play Orisa. I love her. She's great. And people love Reinhardt. And that's awesome. But yeah, I think Reinhardt could do with a little bit of a buff. He needs some love. And yes, another main tank would be very welcome. Yeah.
You've heard it here first, guys. Junker Queen, main tank. Boom.
Oh my god.
That'd be awesome. But yeah, I think another thing that people sort of forget, because he's a little bit weird that way, but Winston is actually a main tank. But because everyone, when Winston's in a team, everyone needs to work with Winston and jump with Winston.
I think any comp needs to work around its comp. Like, if you have a Rhine, great, work with the Rhine. If you have a Winston, maybe work with the Winston. Like, it so varies, and that's the beauty of it. Like, you can have a Rhine and a Winston and do really interesting things. And, like, there's no... For me, like, people talk about, oh, it's this meta, oh, there's that meta. The meta is whatever comp you want it to be that's going to work. But personally, I think if you've got 2 tanks, 2 damage, 2 heals, then you're good.
Let's be honest, at the level we're playing, there's no meta. There's just people who can
it's funny.
at least play the character that we need.
Yeah, when people go, oh, he's not in the meta, we've got a triple tank meta. Mate, we're playing in gold. Just,
just chill. Just chill.
It's fine.
Just play the game properly. Why are you going off on your own? Wait for your team, goddammit. Forget about the meta. So yeah, but no, I do. I want a new main tank. That's all I want, Blizzard, please.
Would be good.
Okay, so actually, while, Wrecking Ball is awesome, the stuff that I've been excited for ages and they've finally brought in is 2 new systems. One is an endorsement system, and you know what? I've been thinking about it, and I think all of us have been speaking about it like maybe a year ago, maybe just the 3 of us talking that there should be a system that not just punishes but also rewards.
Yeah, people have. It's been a sort of topic of conversation among Overwatch players for a long time. Like,
exactly.
Come on, and it's only taken them like 2 years to do it. So
it's hard to tell because it's just been live for just a couple of days, so it's hard to tell exactly how it's working. But basically, when you're in the game, you can give players badges for good shot calling, for being a good teammate, for being polite, and all that kind of stuff, and that raises their rating. I'm not entirely sure how many of these you have to get to sort of level up.
I think it's a fair amount. Like, I think it's not like a simple thing, and you can only endorse like 2 people per day or something. I think.
No, I've definitely endorsed more.
Okay, maybe, or is it, it's 2 per match, right?
Maybe.
I think you can, I can't remember. I haven't actually played on live for a little while because of obviously E3 and stuff, so I'm not actually 100% sure how it works, but it's a great system, and the thing is, it naturally encourages positive behaviour rather than toxicity. I mean, you're always going to get those knobheads who are just like, and they'll rage quit. You're always going to get those. But at least with this endorsement system, it's going to be fewer, I think.
Yeah. And what I think they did very well is that they immediately combined it with the Find a Teammate system, which is excellent. Which, look, we've been talking about role select for ages, and we were like, how the hell Blizzard are going to do it? Because they want people to be able to switch and change characters. But what they did is you can still go into your normal comp and get all your randoms and everyone switching. That's not a problem. But if you want, you can go and search for Find a Teammate system where people will actually specify. So this is the team. I want 2 healers, 2 tanks, 2 damage. Say, for example, good standard comp, right? This is my role. These are the roles that are free. Do you want to join? Do you have a mic? What's your level of endorsement? Like, you can set up all these specific criteria for people to come in, and they just join your team and you go looking together. And look, we've been talking about it for ages, and so many people covering Overwatch been talking about it for ages, that the game, in so many cases, is lost or won in a spawn room where people are fighting for the characters they want to play. And now they can easily see, look, I'm a DPS player. There are no DPS spots on that team. I'm going to find another team where I can actually play DPS and be happy about it. And that works so well in tandem with the endorsement system because people are actually trying. They're happy in the roles they've chosen. They're completely content. They might, there's also some possibilities of having flex roles, so people can switch. So you can have one flex role if you want to, depending on the situation. They're choosing the characters that they're strong with and they're happy to play. If they're in the mics, they'll be talking on the mics. They'll be encouraging other players, and they will be communicating because they want to get that endorsements to go up. And thank God it's finally here.
Yeah. Yes, it's taken a long time, but brilliant that it's finally here. And it'll be interesting to see like how it is sort of adopted by players. I mean, it's just lovely that the options are also open for people. So you can build your own group however you want, and you can join groups. And it's just, I think it's a great system, and hopefully it's going to improve competitive no end.
Hopefully less toxicity.
Yeah, that would be good. That would be good. I mean, you're never going to get rid of all the idiots, but It should help.
I still played like in the game with the guy, and we joined in, and he was on the mic, and he was like always time like, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah,
you're
like, always gonna get those.
Someone's not getting an endorsement.
Yeah. And you're always gonna get those weirdos that I seem to get this a lot, where they'll join the group and ask if I'm a girl or not, and I'm like, what? And it's people are weird.
Here, let me check. Yep.
Oh, yes, I am. Yes.
Yeah. Surprise!
Yeah, what? Whoa, what happened? Oh my god, I just woke up like this. Crazy.
Yeah, let's move on. I'm going to get off topic of that. But another thing that I wanted to quickly mention, because I got very excited the other day, because I got a message pop up on my Blizzard account that there has been an action taking against someone I reported, and it was my first one.
This was your first one? Oh, I've had quite a few on PC, but they are...
See, I heard people getting it on PC more often, but I've never heard people getting on console. So when they got on console, I was like, yeah, boy.
It is nice. It gives you that nice little warm glow, like, yeah.
Yeah, they got what they
I dobbed
deserved.
someone in, and now they're in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Because I very diligently report people.
Oh, like, I do, honestly. Like, anyone who says anything mean, reported. That I don't have any time for any toxic language and stuff like that. No.
So the moral of the day is snitches get post-action reports. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Any more thoughts on Overwatch? Are we happy to move on into topics?
God, we've talked quite a lot about Overwatch
now,
haven't we?
So okay, let's start the topics. I'm going to talk for a little bit, and then I'm going to let you guys take it away. So I've been playing a little bit of Vampyr. I have no idea how to pronounce it. It's the .NOT game that you can't actually believe the .NOT made it after Life is Strange. Like, how is the same studio making those two games? It does not compute in my brain. But it is an RPG set in London. Can't remember during which one of those world wars, but either one or two.
Probably one. Probably one, yeah.
Because it's around the time of the Spanish flu as well, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, yes. So it's during the time of World War One. You're playing Jonathan Reed. He's a doctor that has been bitten by a vampire. He sort of ends up working in this Pembroke hospital because it's part of his cover. And, it's an RPG. So there are quests, you're helping people, you're fighting, you're discovering all those sorts of stuff. I'm not so far very deep into the game, but the reason why I wanted to talk about it is because I sort of struggled through the tutorial part of the game, because I heard a lot of it said about its combat, that it's fine, it's just not super exciting. Like, it's probably the least exciting part of the game. Because as in all RPGs, there's so many things to level up and unlock, and skills and abilities, and you can level up your weapons and all that stuff. So you can just spend ages in menus doing all that chunky, nice, juicy stuff. However, the fighting itself is actually pretty straightforward. Like, you've got a main attack, you've got a dodge. It's got a little bit of that Dark Souls tactic where you have your stamina meter, so if you run out of stamina, you basically fail to dodge or attack. You have an offhand, so I mainly use it for stunning, so then I can drink people's blood.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, you can use that blood for special powers or to heal yourself back up, basically. And it's very simple. Like, honestly, I've played for the few bosses, and it mainly, the only thing I needed to win that fight was to dodge at the right time.
Right.
So that was pretty much it. So, and especially if the boss has a very long health meter, it can get a bit tedious because you just keep doing the same thing over and over and again. You come, you stab, dodge, come, stab. If it's like a thing that you can drink blood with, maybe stun it a couple of times, drink blood from it, then dodge. Maybe use one of your powers once. Maybe they'll hit you for quite a few times, so you dodge, heal up, then stab, dodge. So, like, it's like a dance that's so choreographed, but at the same time not entirely fun. Like, it's fun for a first couple of minutes, and then you're sitting there, dodge, tap, dodge, tap, dodge. So, but where I think this game absolutely shines, and why I'm really enjoying playing it, is that it's actually a very talky game. And I love the way they did talking. So, first of all, you can drink anyone's blood, pretty much, if you want. But you level up people around you through solving their problems. And the more you find out about them, and the more you help them, the more XP their blood gives you.
I see. And are they quite happy for you to be, like, draining their blood after you've solved their problems? Like, oh, thank you for solving my problems. Here, have some blood. Is it that kind of situation?
I haven't really done that yet, because I feel too guilty. So I'm just currently solving their problems and hoping I won't encounter a boss that is too hard and that will require me to level up very quickly so I can beat it.
I see.
I'm like, but I just cured your hiccups. I can't drink your blood now.
Here, let me permanently cure your hiccups.
You know that little problem you had? Well, soon there'll be no more.
Yeah, you'll have no problems.
Yeah. But there's also it's also interesting how all the characters are sort of connected within each other. So they've got this hint system, and the first time you speak to them, you'll see that they have maybe 5 or 6 other conversations you can have with them, but because you don't know what they're about, they're just hint. And then you can go off and talk to someone else, and they might tell you something about that character, and then you're like, oh, I'll go back and ask them about this again. And that's when the hint opens up and you learn a little bit more about them. And maybe the second time around, they're actually going to give you a quest for you to do that is related to their problem, or maybe you'll find out their secret. And obviously, it also... the sequence of which people you speak to at what time also kind of locks you out of stuff. So, for example, I went on the quest, and on the way there, I discovered someone's secret. So I went back to that doctor, and I confronted them about it, and I talked to them about it. And then later, I realized that there was also a nurse involved, and I talked to the nurse, and the nurse was like, well, can you please not tell the doctor that, that you've discovered their secret? And I was like, oops, too late, spoke to him already.
Uh-oh.
My bad.
I can not tell him again.
Yeah, I'll not bring it up one more time.
Brilliant.
So that I think is done so well. And, it's actually very well written. Age appropriate, all the sort of characters are also, and the stories within them are quite interesting and quite nicely intervened with each other. It's obviously, it's a game about vampire. It's mostly about London in not a great state during the flu. You only roam at night, so it can be quite dreary, and it does get a little bit of you because you're like, I just want something bright and colorful and nice for once, and all I'm just roaming around this very dark alleyways and corridors. And that is not so nice. It can also be freaking terrifying. Like, they told me to go to an abandoned morgue, and I went there,
nice.
and there was like a creepy thing, and I was like, nope, I'm out of that morgue. Not happening, guys. You gotta find your own medicine. Not happening. But yeah, I'm gonna continue playing it and see how it turns out. It's apparently about 30 hours. I think I'm maybe like 6-8 hours in. I'm really not that far in. But so far, so good. If you're looking for... another thing, I'll note that it's kind of like, we've had so many good-looking games, like, God of War and Horizon, and even Witcher to an extent looks absolutely fantastic for the time it came out. Now, Dontnod is not a big AAA studio. Like, the game looks nice, but the character models are not up to those standards. So they are a bit more simple. But it still looks quite pretty. Like, even despite that, it's not a problem. It's a pretty game. It's just not a big AAA, full-blown, amazing cutscenes and crazy textures and faces that look, like as realistic
faces.
as faces that look like faces. It's unfortunately, it's not your Quantic Dreams in that department. But I think it's still very good, and I'm enjoying everything I'm playing so far.
Excellent.
Good stuff.
Yep. Okay, moving on to Die with Death. Did he actually really die, the Superman? I don't believe it for a second.
Yeah, so I recently saw the animated version of The Death of Superman. So it's based on the comic series that came out in like 1992 or 3, around then. And yeah, it's based around, spoilers, the death of Superman. Yes, the answer is he does die. It's
my God.
It's not really Well, it is actually a spoiler, but it's in the name. I can't really do much about this, folks.
No.
I really can't do much about this. So, yeah, it's based in the New 52 universe, so the more recent one, but they've adapted it. It's an older story, but they've adapted it into this universe. And I think it's actually not a bad adaptation. It does quite a good job. I really like the voice cast. There's some really interesting people involved in terms of who they have on show. One of the things I didn't like about the other New 52 films was Superman felt a bit aloof and not really caring. He almost seemed a bit bro-ish in terms of he's just this really strong guy. And, he was hitting on a load of women. He went out
that's horrible.
He went out with Wonder Woman for a while as well, and it was like...
Sounds like every other guy in an action movie to me.
Well, yes, but that's not Superman. At least it shouldn't be.
No, absolutely.
And I think what they've done with this film and what they've done... Jerry O'Connell from Stand By Me fame is the guy who does the voice of Superman and Clark Kent.
Oh, that's cool.
And he does a brilliant job in this because he humanizes him more than he's been in any of the, in many of his past, especially the New 52 movies. And he really shows the side of Superman that everyone wants to see, which is the one where you would actually root for this hero. You would actually want him to succeed. And unfortunately, as the name suggests, anyway. We'll move on. And they also have some really interesting voice talent in the other roles as well. Lois Lane is performed by Rebecca Romijn, the woman who did Mystique in the old X-Men films.
Yeah.
Lex Luthor is Rainn Wilson. That's a really weird casting, but he actually does an incredibly good job as him. Yeah, and then they have the rest of the Justice League. You have Wonder Woman is Rosario Dawson.
Cool.
Green Lantern is Nathan Fillion, who we all love. Cyborg is Shamar Moore. He was in...
Well, he lost one video game. He needs another.
Exactly.
Yeah, voiceover work, rather.
Yes, Batman has been Jason O'Mara for a while. He's done most of the New 52 films with him. So there's regular voice talent. So everyone's heard of Jennifer Hale, and she plays Martha Kent.
Oh, I love her so much.
And she does a brilliant job in this as well. As you can imagine, being the mother of Superman, this film isn't exactly her best time in terms of, enjoying. Martha Kent has some stuff to deal with in this film, unfortunately.
Oh,
look, she was femshep. That was a star role.
Exactly.
Nothing ever gonna eclipse that.
Exactly. So just to cover the film itself, if you've read the comic, you have a rough idea of what this is anyway, but basically it's the first showing of Doomsday. So an asteroid crashes on Earth. And inside it is Doomsday, who starts going on a killing spree. And throughout, before that story begins, you learn that Superman and Lois have been going out, and they've been seeing each other, and they both really care about each other. But because of the fact that Superman hasn't told Lois who he really is, there's this sort of barrier between them. So it's kind of like an action film mixed with a love story in this case. They do, and I just think it's really well written. It's really well performed. The story, unfortunately, goes in a pretty predictable way, but they kind of gave it away in the headline anyway. So what can you do? But despite that, despite it feeling like it's going through the paces, it still does it in a very good way. The action scenes are incredible. I love the way they're able to, especially in animation, get across that sense of power. So like when Superman really goes at it and he punches, you just see this shockwave go out that destroys windows and stuff like that. It feels powerful. It's excellent. I love that kind of stuff. The film itself is available digitally now. It's on Blu-ray at the start of August, I believe. And it's really worth picking up if you can. The further spoilers, there is a sequel called Reign of the Supermen coming out sometime early next year. So, I'm not going to say any more, but you pretty much know what that is.
We know.
But the film itself is quite good. If you enjoy animated comic book movies, and DC have done some of the best animated comic book movies.
Batman Ninja.
Exactly.
Batman Ninja.
Exactly. the fact that they've done this and they've done a really good job of it, it's well worth seeking out if you want to, if you just want an evening to cry. No, it's good. It's really worth watching.
Moving on to Yoku's Island Express, which I hear is all sorts of adorable.
So this is much happier than Death and stuff. So this is an absolutely adorable game that it came out quite a while ago, like towards the end of May. It's been out, and I've only just managed to sort of get around to playing it. It's the debut game from a Swedish studio called Villa Gorilla, which is obviously one of the best studio names I've ever heard. And when you open up the game, it has their little logo, and a guy goes, Villa Gorilla, and it's just the best thing.
It sounds like, if you remember like the old Crash games when they used to say Naughty Dog.
Yeah,
that's what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Oh, it's excellent.
Yeah. It's wonderful. So that's obviously a plus point before you've even started the game. Published by Team 17, who did Worms and Yooka-Laylee and The Escapist, so, you know, people will be fairly familiar with them. And it's on Switch, PC, PS4 and Xbox, so it's on all of the things. So in the game, you play as Yoku, who's an adorable little dung beetle. And he has a ball, like a little white ball, that he kind of uses to navigate the island, which the island is called Mokumana, and it's a fictional island, and they have a god. I'm just sort of giving you like a rough approximation of the story here. There's a god called Mokuma, who has been kind of pinned down and hurt by a god slayer, who's obviously like the big overarching sort of nemesis for the game. And you have to basically save the island from calamity by doing all various things, including delivering post. So that's where the Island Express comes into the title. You become the postmaster for the island, and you're delivering letters to people and parcels, and it's just completely adorable. And there's a few other things you do sort of along the way to kind of open up more of the island. It's very much a kind of Metroidvania type game environment. So you pick up new abilities and unlock new areas. And so it's kind of like a side-scrolling platformer. But here's the kicker, it has pinball in it. So the platforming, I'm not usually into platformers, so I was kind of like, well, you know, I'm hoping that it's going to be more pinball. And luckily it is. There's a lot of the pinball, and it works a treat. Like, they've absolutely nailed pinball mechanics. It's very fluid and very fun. And you basically go through all these little pinball areas to unlock new areas and basically help people out, like do little tasks to help the people on the island, and that in turn helps you unlock more areas so you can obviously save the island and help Mokuma the deity. It's absolutely gorgeous. It just looks so stunning. It has lovely hand-drawn environments. It has wonderful music. The music is super chill, and it just makes you feel like you're on holiday on a lush tropical island paradise. There's a parrot in it called Lemon the postal parrot, and I am in love with Lemon the postal parrot. He's like so there's a little sort of home base in the game, which is like the post office, and he's there and he gives you your messages and tells you what you need to deliver, and he's just a treat. You can upgrade your ball, so you start off with like just a plain white ball, but you can upgrade it with sprinkles that you find on the island and add different abilities and colours to it and things like that. And it's just a wonderful little game. Like, it's just little, actually, is a bit sort of rude to it, because it's not little at all. It's quite sort of, there's an open world to it, but it's just so adorable and so much, it's such a joy to play. You just feel lovely playing it all the time. There's so much to explore. There's quite a few generous save points. So there's lots of like little flowers, and when you roll over the flower, that saves the game for you. And they're quite sort of liberally scattered across the island, so you never need to worry about having to repeat bits too much, and checkpoints are very, very generous, so that's good. The only negative for me is that the map itself can sometimes feel a little bit overwhelming, because it is so big and there's so many little areas to explore. You can sometimes look at the overall map and be like, oh my word, I've got quite a lot to get around to here. But then when you get back into away from the map and back into the actual traversal and the pinball, it's so much fun. It's just an absolute joy. And I almost forgot, he has a little noisemaker horn. And so you blow a party toot at people. So, because he doesn't talk, he's a dung beetle, and he uses the party toot to kind of say hello to people and activate certain things. And that's just amazing. I mean, it's just such a wonderful, wonderful game. Absolutely lovely.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm as far into it as you, but yeah, I just love how content I feel when I'm playing it.
Yeah,
One of the games that I feel really stressful playing is pinball, because like it's like a high score thing, and you're like, don't let the ball go, don't let the ball. But this one just feels really easy and relaxed to play. It's perfect.
Yes.
It's absolutely perfect.
Yes. It is. It's if you've had a stressful day, it's absolutely perfect for just chilling, relaxing, just helping you feel at one with the world.
And the music is incredible.
Oh, the music is so lovely. I don't believe anyone could sit and play this game and not feel happy and chilled out. Like, you'd have something a little bit wrong with you, I think, if you didn't feel a bit better just having played this game for a bit. So it's lovely. So I highly recommend it. I don't like platformers. I never play platformers because they just usually do frustrate me. And if you're kind of like that as well, and you're not usually into platformers, don't worry. This isn't like that. You'll love it. It's really, really chill, really fun. The pinball is great. Yoku is adorable. And yeah, I can't recommend it highly enough. Everyone should play this game.
So yeah, if you wanted two games that are complete opposites of each other, you got them in this episode.
Yeah,
Yoku's and
absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, you have no excuse. It's on everything. It's on all of the platforms, Switch, PC, PS4 and Xbox. And it's cheap. Like, it's not an expensive game. I think it cost me 20 quid from Amazon. And it's so worth it. You'll have a lovely, lovely time. So yes, play it.
Last but absolutely not least, Diarmuid is going to tell us again why we should be watching Voltron.
I like how you said that. It's
like a recurring.
I'm going to tell you again.
Previously on Voltron, Legendary Defender.
And hence why I'm not going to talk about this for too long, but I do want to mention Season 6 specifically. It came out in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I believe. And it is such a well-made show. I've already discussed the voice talent involved. I've already discussed the production value. It's incredibly well done. However, this time I want to talk about Season 6 specifically because it's a 7-episode season. Each episode is 25-30 minutes long, the usual kind of stuff. And you wouldn't think there's too much in that. But what I love about this show and what continues to surprise me is how fearless they are in terms of getting the story across, telling their story, and not being afraid to go a little further than anyone expects. So in 7 episodes, you wouldn't expect the entire paradigm of the show to change, yet it does. I cannot wait for the next season of Voltron Legendary Defender because everything about the show has now changed. They've completely mixed it up in this season. And yet, despite all of that, they still managed to have a filler episode that was actually enjoyable. The filler episode this season was the crew of Voltron, the Paladins, playing basically a game of virtual D&D.
Oh, nice.
And they had a game of virtual D&D. The joke was that one of the more serious characters kept choosing the paladin role despite him being a paladin in real life.
Nice.
And he died multiple times, and every time he came back, like when he created a new character, like the character's brother, his brother was a paladin as well. It was very funny. But that episode is incredible, especially because we've kind of recently played D&D and kind of got into it, and it was like, that was fun. This is just a kind of a virtual version of that, and they do a really good job of kind of, talking about how that game works in terms of how much fun it can be and how free it is. The season itself, the story of the season, from where it starts to when it finishes, after only 7 episodes, especially if you have to take one out because it's pretty much a filler episode, it's amazing how much the show kind of gets through. You're never bored watching this show. It is incredibly well done. As I said, it's season 6, so there's plenty to catch up on if you haven't watched it. But it's so worth watching. If you haven't been watching it, shame on you. You should be watching it now. It's available on Netflix. It's so much fun, and it's a brilliantly told story. And I just love how courageous they are with that show. That they're not afraid to completely mess up the formula and just do something completely different that you weren't expecting. Yeah, that's all I want to say really about it. It's just it's one of my favorite shows ongoing at the moment.
Are all of the series on Netflix at the moment?
Every
like
single
from season 1?
Yeah,
I might have to watch it now.
It's a Netflix original, so they have rights to everything on it.
Excellent.
Give it a watch.
Let's face it. From my previous experience with series that Di said I should watch, I will end up watching and binging it because person of interest. So it will happen. It will happen.
You should. It's definitely worth watching. Definitely worth watching.
Cool. I think I will, yeah.
Cool. Okay, guys, I think that's it for this episode.
Yeah.
Oh,
Bumper episode today.
I know. Thank you very much for listening to episode 140 of BigRedBarel Geek Speak. Just a couple of shout-outs. I knew our episode just recently actually came out because I'm, again, super busy. I apologize, people. One day soon. Like, fingers crossed. I'm holding my fingers so crossed next to, like, my heart. I'll actually be free to edit the podcast on time. I'm sorry. But still, we've got a couple of shout-outs. Thank you to Gabriel, to Will Driver, to Ferry Grandard, and Pete Ryan. Thanks so much. If you want to get in touch with us, you can do so on the forums on BigRedBarel.com. You can do so on Facebook, facebook.com/BigRedBarel. On Twitter, we are at BigRedBarel. Use hashtag GeekSpeak if you want to make sure that we find your tweets. You can also speak to us there directly. I'm at DustyTube_.
I'm at Pixel Ritual.
I'm at Diarmuid_S.
Our episodes also, I still believe, come out on YouTube, which our monetization has returned. Woohoo! Celebrate, everyone! Woo! We're gonna get 5 pence per year!
Yeah, I mean, you got to be nearly enough for like a bag of crisps by now.
I know, hopefully.
Surely.
Yeah.
Maybe a Freddo. Although Freddos have gone up in price now, so.
What?
Oh, man. It's okay. We'll wait until there's good, like, enough for, I don't know, like a big bag of Doritos and then call out all BRB crew and just share one bag around there and be like, you guys worked hard. Here you go. Here's a chip.
Aw, not Cool Ranch.
Also, a reminder that Tuesday is in fact on Tuesday, and on Tuesday we have Tabletop Tuesday in Loading Bar in Dalston, London, where we play board games, and every week we have a new feature game, and if you come on the night and try out that board game, you may win it by the end of the night. Now, I'm not going to say which board game it is, because knowing myself, by the time this podcast comes up, whatever I say for this week will not be relevant anymore. So all I'm going to say, that if you go on BigRedBarel.com, top left-hand corner, it tells you exactly what game, or if you go on meetup.com and search Tabletop Tuesday, it also has all the info there, and you should go and check it out and come and just play games. And even if you're not interested in the feature game, there is like a mother of god bajillion board games there by now. Like, you can play pretty much anything you ever wanted in Loading Bar. Seriously, no joke. So come anyway, have nice drinks, meet nice people, play awesome games.
Yeah.
Cute.
Okay. Have I forgotten anything?
No, I think we're good.
Cool. So, thank you very much for listening. This has been episode 144. I've been Butts.
I have been Joe.
I've been Diarmuid.
And we bid you goodbye. Bye.
Bye.
Butts.
You and your ears are quite welcome.
For the podcasting goodness that you just heard.
Why not roll on over
To BigRedBarel.com.
for more podcasts?
News, reviews, and videos from the biggest, reddest site on the internet. BigRedBarel.com.